Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are on series number 2 in our Boss webinar series to help the business aviation community and the owners of business aviation businesses. Today, we are dispelling some myths that are associated with business aviation, and we brought in a great team of experts to help us get through this. So let's meet our team. First of all, we have Miss Shelley Svoren. Shelley, hi, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm fantastic, Dustin. Thank you for including me in this conversation.
We are thrilled to have you with us, and let's find out a little bit more about Shelley. So, Shelley is the CEO and founder of Infinite Branches, and she's really an expert in business strategy and operational excellence. If you are into capital formation, nobody knows debt and equity structuring like Shelley. And fun fact, Shelley is an avid fly fisherwoman. Shelley, tell us a little more.
Well, I do enjoy my fly fishing almost as much as another person on this panel does. But one of the things that most people do know about me is that I live in the wine country out in the Napa Valley. And there's a great phrase that one of our dear friends in our community created one night over dinner. WWSD, what would Shelley drink? So if you're with me, you'll get to find out.
Love it. I love it. Thank you, Shelley. And for our next guest, Mr. Ryan Wagasback. Ryan, say hello.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
Ryan, it's great to have you here. Well, I know you've been traveling quite a bit, so thanks for working us in here. A little bit more on Ryan, the founder of General Aviation Consultants. Everybody knows Ryan is a strong aviation advocate. He's really a good strategic consultant and has an absolute passion for workforce development. What you may not know about Ryan is he was the founder of the Alabama Business Aviation Association. So, really, thank you, Ryan, for all your volunteer work in the industry. And anything else you want to tell us?
No, again, just thrilled to be here. 25 years in the industry, and it's still, I love being a part of it and looking at ways to reshape and grow and change as we look forward for the next 25 years.
Outstanding. Outstanding. All right. And our last but certainly not least, our final expert here is there's Ryan, there's Shelley, here's Ashley.
Hello, Dustin.
Hey, Ashley, how are you? Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thanks for having me.
You bet. So here's a little bit more about Ashley, the president and co-owner of Greteman Group. If you look at Ashley's middle name on there, Ashley Bowen Cook, you know she comes from famous aviation bloodlines with her father, the photographer, and she has over 25 years of aviation marketing expertise. And someone told me that Ashley fishes more than Shelley. Ashley, is that true?
Well, I am headed to the mountains in 2 days to fish some more, so we'll see.
She walks it
uh,
like she talks it. Yeah.
yes.
Awesome. Well, that's great. A little bit on me. I am the head coach, founder of Step Zero Coaching. I am a SEPA, a certified exit planning advisor. I'm also an EOS implementer. And in my sales career in business aviation, I have responsible for more than $1 billion of sales of aircraft to my name. Fun fact on me, at one point before the gray hair, I was a Air Force pilot. So I am thrilled to be here. Here is our panel, our experts today to talk about dispelling these common myths with business aviation. So let's jump right into it with myth number 1. All right, the first myth, all top line falls to the bottom. Is that true, Shelley?
It's absolutely not true, Dustin. There's certain things called cost structure that impact that. But let me take a step back for all of our friends who are watching today and those who will be friends. Business aviation is such a sexy industry. In addition to all of these beautiful aircraft that you see that take you to places seamlessly and allow you to do great business, There's a lot of top line dollar that people see. The cost of new aircraft is exceptionally high, millions upon millions of dollars. And so people think that you can easily charter those aircraft and that will drop straight to the bottom line. Well, it doesn't. And I've also had clients who I've advised they want to start an aircraft management company or a charter company. They do not understand that there are significant human capital costs that they need to absorb. And so what happens, you're not necessarily aligned until you conduct your due diligence on what is involved in those particular business models. How much does it cost you to hire the people? What type of people do you need to hire? Who pays for those costs? And when can you expect to become profitable? So, those are all of the issues that I assist my clients with. And when possible, I pull people in to develop a qualified team of experts, some of whom are here today and who you will hear more about. But what I will say to everyone involved, if you're thinking about starting a business, take a step back and ask yourself, what does success look like to you? And then start asking yourself, what is involved in achieving that success? Build a true business plan, conduct your due diligence, find out who the legitimate operators are that you can compare different parts of your business and what you'd like to achieve to. This is when comparison is not the thief of joy. Comparison truly is critical to setting your expectations of what success can look like for you.
Wonderful words of wisdom, Shelley. Thank you very much. Myth dispelled. Check. On to myth number 2. Charter covers 100% of your expenses. Ryan, I bet you know something about this.
That's another falsehood in the industry. I think it's important what Shelley was talking about is what does success look like, right? What does success even look like from an aircraft owner? Are we looking at covering some just fixed cost or some of your variable cost? How is that aircraft going to be operated? And really, what do you want to achieve if the aircraft is being operated commercially? And how will that fit back to the bottom line? As she clearly articulated, pilots, right? If you want to have a heavy charter use airplane, you may have to employ more pilots today. 10, 15, 20 years ago, you were being able to get, dozens and dozens of hours out of one crew. That culture doesn't exist anymore. People want, balancing in their lives and, time with home and family. And so that again, cost is accrued. So again, she's spot on and how this all interfaces and comes together.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ryan. Myth number 3. If you're behind, marketing is the quick fix. Ashley, you know something about this.
Yes, I do. Yes. So, the reality is that marketing oftentimes does not impact the bottom line as quickly as a business owner or upper management assume it might. And it's really about taking the time to develop a strategy and a plan that all align with business goals. And so we look at those business goals. And again, what are we trying to achieve, right? So we look at the business goals, then we develop marketing goals, then we're looking at target personas for those goals and how much marketing effort it will take to reach those target markets. And then there's something that is very important to account for specifically in aviation is that it's oftentimes about quality versus quantity. And many companies don't need thousands of prospective customers. They need the right 100 prospects.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That is excellent, excellent advice. On to our next myth here. All banks think alike. Do they?
Well, this is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I like to say I'm a recovering banker, and before that, a recovering federal banking regulator. And I worked at 2 financial institutions that were diametrically opposed. in how they underwrote transactions. Now, everyone thinks that all money is green. In the US, that may be the case, and all banks focus on the 5 C's of credit. So, what are those? That's character, capacity, collateral, capital, and condition. And in some cases, you really need to be prepared and do some due diligence on what the importance is placed on each and every one of those 5 C's. And walk into every relationship with a financial institution not thinking it's going to be a transaction. Partners do matter. You're asking a financial institution to take a calculated risk on your ability to repay them. And this is where banks will get to know you based upon not only what you say, but also what you do. And in some situations, such as in my last financial institution where I worked, we tried to be great partners with all of our clients and make connections that allowed those clients to grow. I didn't just finance aircraft, the collateral. I was looking at the character of each individual who was running that company that was requesting the credit from me. Now, what did that look like? I didn't just look at their historical payments. I wanted to know who they were, how they made their money, how they were going to use whatever financial tool that I provided to them in order to grow their business, pay me back. And the financial institution that I worked with, my reputation was on the line. And never forget that. You are asking someone to take a calculated risk on you. So communication is really critical. And never underestimate the value of checking in with your banker. They can give you advice, they can give you perspective. Play the long game. And remember, it's a partnership, not a transaction that can help you and your business grow. And I've seen how this works extraordinarily well. I had one client that was an aircraft management company at the very start of their operations, and they were growing. And we took a look at where they were headed and continue to quantify that every couple of months, find out how they were doing, find out if they needed more, what we could do. And there was this great symbiotic relationship that we developed with them, where we were referring clients to them, and they were looking at us to ask better questions in order to allow them to grow further, faster, and stronger and build their financial reporting based upon what our risk metrics were. They got to know where we were, what we needed to address: character, capacity, collateral, conditions in the market, as well as their capital structure. So I want to leave every single person here who watches this, know who your partner is, know what they need. Make sure you know what you need, and make sure that you continue to allow your relationship to evolve over time.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Shelley. All right. Next myth. Hey, bigger is better. What are we talking about here, Ryan?
Bigger is not always better. So again, it goes back to, I love how Shelley, continues to articulate the relationship with the client. It's the same thing. What's the relationship with the management company? What are you hoping to get out of? And I think, as we look at the cottage nature of our industry, if you look at 1,978 air carriers in the US, there's 800 large, 5 aircraft to and well beyond, biz jets, 800 of those. So, from a perspective of an aircraft owner and buyer, you're wanting that local approach. You want that local feel. Now, the macro trends that continue to take place in the market, right, as we're seeing in a lot of industries, full-time employees costing more, benefits costing more. How do we scale, but also try to provide that high level of quality, attention, and trust to the end customer? That's key as we look at the next 5 to 10 years in this industry.
Myth dispelled. Thanks, Ryan. Yes. Okay. Is it really the same thing as PR? or is that just a
Yes,
myth?
great question here. So marketing is often the promotion of products and services, and a lot of times you'll have a paid component to that, whether it's in the form of, say, paid search or Google AdWords or a print ad in an industry publication. And while public relations is generally considered earned, and it's more about building public image and reputation and being seen as a subject matter expert. And so then once you're seen as a subject matter expert, you have that opportunity to be quoted in articles or be asked to speak at events or be on a panel at a conference. And in a well-rounded marketing strategy and plan, these really work together in unison in order to move the brand forward.
Thank you, Ashley. All right. Brokers must know their stuff, or is that just a myth?
This one is unique to the aviation industry. When you buy or sell a home, there is licensing, there's an MLS system in place. Believe it or not, with the aviation industry, there is yet to have a developed and refined code of conduct that's applicable to everyone who states that they are a wholly owned or a charter broker. And you should always do your due diligence. Find out who they are, how long they've been in the industry. There's plenty of resources out there from the NBAA to IATA to NAFA. Many organizations can help direct you towards finding the right person to represent you. And I bring this up for a couple of different reasons. Throughout my career working in the aviation industry, I've had clients be approached to acquire aircraft that would go into charter activity. In addition to going back to that first discussion point that we talked about and dispelling, and also the second point that Brian talked about, not all revenue drops to the bottom line. And the financial projections that my client was provided by this particular organization seemed very rosy, but as we dug through it and spoke with other people in the industry who I have worked with extensively, we pulled those budgets apart and realized that the information was completely inaccurate. And it would have cost my client millions upon millions of dollars. In another incident, we found out that the person who stated that they were the broker for two aircraft did not actually have the authorization of the aircraft owner to represent them in a sale. And so these are some of the things that you don't expect, never having worked in the industry. You should do your due diligence, find good people who are very well experienced, know who you are working with so that you have the results that you want and you really do quantify what does success in owning an aircraft and even building a business. What does that look like to you?
Mm, so true, especially in this industry. Due diligence is just absolutely critical. Okay, on to our final myth of the day. Woohoo! Aviation marketing is the same as all marketing. I bet you it's not.
I bet you you're right. So, the best comparison that I can make is talking about a generalist versus a specialist doctor. So, your general practitioner is a great resource for your yearly physical, but say you suddenly need a knee replacement or even a minor procedure done. Would you really go to your GP or would you ask to see a specialist? The specialist works, day in and day out in this one area, and they've also had many more years of training. So in business aviation, as we all know, there are so many nuances. We have a specific industry language, the alphabet soup of acronyms, and many of us have been in the industry for a long time. And generally speaking, and tying back to what we've already covered with other comments regarding relationships, generally speaking, we're only 1 to 2 degrees separated from each other. And so we can quickly connect companies and help facilitate those partnerships, like Shelley was talking about. And also, we love introducing new people to the industry, but it does take time to learn it.
For sure. For sure. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Ashley. Here's our panel. I was sent in some questions here to help. And Ashley, we're just going to stay with you on the marketing. So we use our specialist over our GP. And what do I need do I need a substantial budget to be effective in marketing, especially in aviation?
Not necessarily. So it all depends again about your goals, what you're trying to accomplish, what does success look like. And if you have a smaller budget, maybe you only get to try and target one of those target markets initially and see if that works, see if it builds success, generates some leads, and then go on from there. So you do not always have to have a large budget.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Ryan, lots of talk today about the relationships, the interaction, knowing your partners, etc. Business aviation is sometimes described as a little cottage industry. How do we work better together within this ecosystem? What's your advice?
My biggest advice is we've got to start communicating, right? We recognize we are an ecosystem, that, if the broker on the front end sets false expectations to the aircraft buyer, the management company does something similar, we don't want to lose individuals enjoying and prospering, utilizing our product, right? So we do need to tear down those verticals, communicate, engage one another, and recognize that we're all a link in the chain. And if one of those links in the chain is broken or is not as strong, then that's going to have impacts. And we need to make sure we are engaging one another.
Well, banking is a big link in that chain. Shelley, what do people get wrong about banking?
People tend to think about everything as being a transaction when it really is a continuum. It's a continuum of proving yourself time and time again, not just the bank to you, but you also to the bank. And that allows people to ask better questions, open up, and go a greater distance for their client. One of the things that banks do that I never did is rely upon 3 prior years of income. I figured if you're buying an aircraft, this is a watershed event and things are going to change that I can't see today, but we need to have a conversation about how are you going to use this aircraft? And let's talk about the structure we need to create for you to be successful. And a lot of times, as Ashley and Ryan both said, we're talking about 1 to 2 degrees of separation. So trying to find the right partner for a particular client so that they could be successful in their aircraft ownership was monumental. And I go back to that. What I've done at Infinite Branches is take that mindset and move it forward. Looking at businesses as they're starting out, what do they need to succeed? Do they need support with marketing? Do they need understanding of operational, sales, and even regulatory issues? Are there tax consequences for what they intend to do? And how do I make sure that my client is protected but allowed to grow in the manner in which makes the most sense for their business model? And a good financial institution and a good financial partner will allow you to see what you can do with capital that you raise or you contribute, and also the debt that they can offer you.
Awesome. All right, Ryan. Shelley just got her client a big pile of money. Oh, hold on a second. I'm hearing something here. sorry to interrupt this webinar, but guess what? We just found out that the BizAv Owner Strategic Summit, that's right, boss, dates and location have been announced. So on the 10th and the 11th of September this year in Dallas at Love Field, come join us. There's only 30 spots available and you can sign up right away. In fact, let me show you how. If you want to scan that QR code, it's going to take you to this landing site where you can see information about the event, the location, the agenda preview, why you should attend, and look at these 7 experts that we have speaking at this location. So covering all aspects of the business cycle, assessing where you're at, protecting what you have, growing your business, and eventually transitioning it without regrets. This event will be private, it will be practical, and it will be powerful. So just put your information right here and we will keep you updated, and formal invites will be going out shortly. Again, there's only 30 seats available for that, so please come and join us. And so Ryan, my apologies to you with that breaking news to cut me off, but going back to Shelley giving everybody this, doing her diligence, working with her team, getting them this big pile of money, and now I have an aircraft, and how in the world do I determine who to use, how much to charter, how do I make that make sense?
That's where you really have to work with, qualified, quality people in this industry to really drive and ask the right questions. And how is that going to interface with your mission profile? Like I will never forget, I had a client years and years ago, back in the early 2000s, sold an aircraft to him, PC-12, first time exit, right? Big deal, wasn't going to work, was only going to fly 100 hours a year. Promise, right? Management company convinced him he was going to make money. Well, it was a mismatch, right? He he ended up throwing almost 340 of 91 and could not understand these bills that he was interfacing and what was happening with the management. And it was a miscue from the start. So I think it is critical to write down, again, mission profiles. What does success look like? As Shelley, everybody said, what does success look like with aircraft ownership? And how to manage that, and finding the right management company that's going to be able to provide you those solutions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great advice. Finding that right advisor, Shelley. What's the pitfalls you've seen, and when we've talked about you all brokers being the same? Like, what's the pitfalls? What happens when you use a wrong advisor?
Oh, well, not just even a broker. If you use the wrong tax advisor up front, to Ashley's very astute point, you have generalists and then you have specialists. Business aviation does maintain its own separate language, its own separate legal requirements, and the state, the federal, and the IRS do not always mesh. So you really need to bring in another party, even with legal issues. There are considerations that one must have. Otherwise, you're not going to get it right. What happens if you buy an aircraft thinking that you will be able to deduct 100% bonus depreciation in the first year that you do, but you do not use the proper advisor to do that, and you do not have the proper legal framework to do so? Same thing goes for setting up a business. What happens if you do not set something up, your business up in a tax efficient way? You'll pay more taxes and it could adversely impact you, not just up front, but down the road, especially when you need additional financing or some type of support and want to bring in a partner. So bring in the right people up front, ask as many questions. Don't be afraid to ask for assistance. This is the time where you cannot ask enough questions.
Excellent. So, Ashley, when I work with my clients, I see a lot of people try and put the cart before the horse. They don't start with the beginning, right? They don't start with what's important. Have you seen in terms of marketing goals versus business goals? How do they interact?
Yes, that's a great question, Dustin. So it is critical to start at the beginning and have your business goals. Business goals should always drive what the marketing goals are, and marketing goals should always be supporting the business goals. Because oftentimes when you think about marketing, a lot of times it comes back down essentially to lead generation. And so you must have business goals and what the numbers are that you need to hit, whether that be the number of forms that need to be filled out, the number of quotes you need to fulfill per month, how many aircraft management customers you need to obtain within a year, whatever that looks like, then that's what your marketing goals are going to support. And so that's something that we find is really critical when we're speaking with our clients about how to determine what success is going to look like for marketing. And also to then, again, know where to allocate the dollars. We understand that people don't, generally speaking, have just endless budgets to throw at marketing. And so, how can we be most cost effective? And the best way to do that is to make sure it's tied back to, what the goals are for the business.
That is great. Well, if you can believe it, we are approaching the end of our time. It seems they say time flies when you're having fun. I can't believe we've already used our time up. We do have a few more minutes if anybody has any words of wisdom that they want to share before we sign off.
I'll bookend it with what I said before. Think about what success looks like to you, and then find trusted partners who can make introductions so that you can create that growth strategy together and achieve the success that you want. Like everyone said here, there's a lot of great people in this industry. It's a matter of finding them and working together and continuously educating yourself on what you need to do in order to grow your business in the best way possible.
Outstanding. Well, speaking of finding good advisors, if you didn't realize what those QR codes are for that flashed up on the screen, that is the easiest way to find each one of us individually. If you want to learn more about the services and what we offer and how we can assist you as you address the unique challenges and the myths that we can help dispel within the business aviation community. Ashley, Ryan, anything to say before we head off? Have a lovely day.
Yep. Have a lovely day. It's been wonderful. Thank you for the invite.
Thanks.
Yes,
Thanks
it's
so
been
much,
great. Thanks so
everyone.
much.
Have a great one.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I stopped the recording there. End the recording.